Hey guys, we are at AHR 2025 Max Roar. Andy Mickelson, I'm Eric Ani with Mechanical Hub. Andy and I are talking to Max today. Angle Mix is in the Caleffi booth. This is a product I'm very familiar with, but really kind of just one model really is what I'm putting in over and over.
Yeah.
And you've got a whole lot more to expand this Angle Mix. Andy's familiar with it. Tell us what you want to show us, or you've got some questions.
First of all, I've got a couple questions for both of you. So when you're at the shop, when you're getting ready for a project, do you listen to Creed 100% of the time or only like 85% of the time? That's the first thing that I need to know.
Yeah, that's like, sound level 10.
Okay.
Hey,
what about you?
You can subscribe to my Spotify playlist if you want to.
Okay.
I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah. Okay, the second question I have is how do you know if you're going to prefabricate at your shop or if you're going to take just kind of the base Angle Mix product like I see you doing all the time out in the field with heat pump water heaters with all sorts of different stuff. How do you know if just the base product assembled on site is the way to go, or if you should go with a kit that has pivot fittings or that has the flexible stainless to go around the top of a vent? Like, what's the decision-making process that you guys have for that?
Well, I'll chime in, then I want to hear from you too, Andy. So like for me, I'm doing a lot of the same thing over and over. And as a service and plumbing, heating, repair contractor, I see everything in my community, but a lot of times what you see within your community tends to be the same repeat thing over and over. I think this Angle Mix kit with the
tank mixer?
Tank mixer,
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
This kit has been useful to me. I've only just started using it. I realized that actually saved me a lot of time.
Yeah.
I wasn't putting two and two together because I had just been stocking just the standard Angle Mix setup like this, but with the press fittings.
Yeah.
I really like that. I like that I can pull one thing out of the box and it's repeatable over and over. But for me, I haven't used any of the pivot stuff. When it comes to like prefabbing tanks and things like that, I actually do that in my shop often, but it's just to get those fittings on the tank because it cuts down on time on my job. If I had like this whole kit, I don't need to prefab anything with this because it's like all in one box, right?
And this one's really is a compact, which is what we call that pivot fitting. So you can either use the stainless flex or the pivot to go to a different, lay length there, a different spread. And then this one has the isolation kits for a combi.
Okay.
So this is a whole purge kit that you can do to purge through the heat exchanger. This goes kind of below a combi where you can put this on top of the water heater like you've done in the past. So we tried to make this combination of different products really flexible. So like you said, this may make sense to just have one part number that you order from Caleffi that you've got all the pieces to put together from one box on the job site. But that's what we wanted to do, is just try and be flexible. So I don't know what your prefabrication journey is, but
I'm a hit and miss, and Eric and I talk about this, routinely.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it comes out to what I feel like. If I'm standing in the shop, I got a tank sitting there, it's in the box, I got this in the box, I have a hard time because I may not be the one installing it.
Yeah, that's
in Eric's case, he's installing it. He knows exactly hey, I'm going to do it like this because this is the way I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like on my end of it, if I prefab something, I might have Rob or Tristan or Miles go out in the field. They're going to get to the job and be like, oh, I need to move that.
Yeah.
Where in the box is maybe a better scenario for me. But
And he brings up a good point. In our conversations about this prefab stuff, actually, it's going to play into what you're going to say next, I bet. He's always brings up I'm just going to exaggerate, but I'm worried it's going to be in the wrong orientation or this or that.
Yeah.
And I think about that, and it's valid points, but a lot of times, like you said, I'm the one doing it, so I've been out to the job, I can see it, and I'm like, this got to be this way, and if I need to change it, it's probably not going to be that big a deal. But see, now with your guys' new fitting system, going to this you call it a G union?
Yeah, so a G thread, and then it's a posi stop is the actual embedded O-ring that's really versatile, and then it's easy because you go to a metal to metal stop and you know that's it. So there's no guesswork, there's no soaking the washers, there's no EPDM that you can completely bottom out and get out of. It will stop when it's the perfect compression of that O-ring, and that's why we designed it like that.
Which makes it way easier to change if you had to move, if you wanted to flip your mixing valve around or something.
So
well, and that's something, with like this that I see, it is really easy to go in, pop unions on.
Yep.
It's prepped, it's ready to go, and in 5 minutes, this thing is on the bottom and we're piping.
Yeah, so that part.
Yeah, you guys have, by making these, first of all, the Angle Mix in itself, just the shape of it starts to eliminate some fittings we
Yeah.
need for install. I like that you started packaging like with this temperature T on there. Great for easy setup on the tank.
So easy to do.
Especially when we're doing like heat pumps or something like that. You're waiting for that tank to heat up. You got a million things to do. Last thing you need to do is go run over to a faucet, get a thermometer, checking it. You can check it right here. I really like that.
Yeah.
And I only buy that model. I don't buy it without it anymore.
That's a good way to go. And then you don't get a call back if you say, if a homeowner calls and says, hey, the water's cold, and you say, what's coming out of that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's the temperature I should be seeing there. Maybe it's something else in the system that is not mixing properly.
Like a
at the
cross
sink
connection or
yeah,
something
somewhere
like that.
else. So one of the other things to mention about this, so this angle mix, we now have a dual listed version.
Okay.
So it comes with a screw that won't let you adjust past 120 degrees, which is the ASSE point of use limit. You can just back that screw out and you could use it like a regular angle mix like you would. So
the normal valve comes out, this is a 1017 valve,
yeah,
right?
point
So
of
that's
distribution.
Point of distribution. This goes at the water heater.
Yes.
The dual listing, what's the listing for that? What's the ASSE number?
1070. So kind of
1070.
confusing, 17 or 70. So the cool thing about that is you could stock this and then you could do like at this convention hall, if you had 10 sinks or 5 sinks or something like that, you can use different versions of the angle mix to do a bunch of those, but they're point of use at that point. So you just change the screw in the top. This is good down to like half a GPM of mixing, so it's really stable down to those low flow rates. And then the other thing is it will close, this valve, the small angle mix will close the hot port 100%. So if you did an application where you've got kind of a weird existing recirc system and you've had temperature creep issues in the past, this will close the hot port so you don't have to like balance around that the same way you would with a big high-low thermostatic station or something like that. So
the temperature creep with recirc is something that this impressed me the most because I was having a lot of older systems, older valves, other manufacturers. You started to see either they were piped incorrectly or maybe a flow rate was too low or too high on the recirc side of things. This cartridge reacts a lot better for that.
And that's the same thing with the digital mixing valve, our Legio mix. We can go take a look at that in a second. That valve also is a ball control element, so it's kind of the big brother of all this. It's a ball instead of the shuttles inside of that can close the hot port 100% too. So that's really as you get into bigger commercial projects that you would use an electronic mixing valve versus a thermostatic. A lot of applications for both. We just wanted to show kind of the flexibility. We've been making stuff for thermostatic mixing valves since like 1961, so this is a bread and butter product for us. But the same valve doesn't work for the same site. You might have 5 projects in a month and have 5 different reasons to use a mixing valve here.
Well, and Andy gets into a lot more like housing authority stuff. You get into commercial bathroom distribution, piping, stuff like that.
And that's where these point of use mixing valves, these small ones for very, very small single sink or a few different fixtures, and that's where you can use this angle mix for point of use as well there.
Well, and we've even found, applications where like the little guy here on these 8 gallon a minute flow rates.
Exactly.
One of these will do 3
sensor
or 4
faucets here that like is a very, very low flow rate. That's what is a good fit. So we've got a 3 and a 4 port version for that one.
So you've got this like the tankless valves here would be great for either tankless water or like a combi boiler.
Combi boiler,
right? So you've got that's called the pivot system. That's those extra fittings.
So that's going to be like an electric water heater or heat pump water heater where you may know ahead of time what it is, but we wanted to make it compact so it fits right on the top. And then if we've got the listing for how far the spread is, then you don't have a flex if you don't have to go around like an atmospheric vent. That might be easier right on the top of an electric water heater that's tucked under something at a sink in a commercial space or something like that. So
that's really
make
cool.
it really short. So
awesome. So now we move on to the Legio mix.
Sure. So we'll
that's
head
a commercial
over there.
big brother.
One other thing that I wanted to mention. If you see these trainers out in the wild, these are the Caleffi trainers. We've got these stickers. These are special editions. These are baseball cards, collector's items. You have to get these from the trainers. So if you see them throughout the year out in the wild, you can get these stickers from them. At AHR, what we're trying to do is to put them on people's backs without people noticing. So if you see photos from AHR and there's a sticker of a Caleffi trainer on their back.
I feel like there's probably one on my back right now.
I think that I don't know if that's happened anywhere, but that is likely to occur. So why don't we just head over to the Legio mix and take a look.
All right, Max, so this is Legio mix. This is, like you said, the big brother to the angle mix, to all of your mixing valves. This is really just technology brought to the job site to make things safe. Tell us about it.
So this is going to be the big brother for commercial projects. This is going to be a little bit too big. Even at a 3/4 inch, this is way too big for most residential applications. The difference is instead of a cartridge in there that's going to give you a different mix of hot and cold, there's actually a big diverting ball essentially. So you can get really high flow rates with this because it's so minimal the flow restriction going through this valve. So we've done some scenarios where a 3/4 inch Legio mix would line up with like an 1.25 inch thermostatic, because you need that much space inside of a thermostatic to get a really high flow rate through, or you could get about 2 to 30 GPM through a 3/4 inch valve like this. That's going to be great for your light commercial projects and anything where the stakes are just additionally high, where you want to data log what's happening. If this is in a school or a hospital or something like that, you want to know what happened. If you had a water heater that we were talking about before, if there's an aquastat that goes bad and the water heater is now at 180 degrees, there are a few different things this will do. So first of all, it's going to use a wet well sensor a little bit further downstream, so really accurate as opposed to it being right in the center. So you're going to get really a tight number there. But let's say your water heater runs away and then you have an issue that this also loses power because there's a lightning strike or something like that.
Right.
A lot of additional safeties there. This has a capacitor. It's just going to power cold. If it can't hear from the controller, it's going to say, I don't know what's happening. We're going full cold until we figure it out. You can also close a solenoid that would just turn off the supply from the water heater. So this is the type of thing that overkill for a house for sure, but if you're getting into commercial projects and you want to just have the absolute best of the best, this is a really excellent product. That this has been around for a very long time, for decades. In Italy, we've had this Legio mix first generation in North America for a long time, reverse compatible. So you could put both of these on top of the old valve body. One of the key things with this is that once a day, it's going to rotate the full stroke of the ball to wipe away the scale. So it's essentially like brushing its teeth every single day. Scale will kill a mixing valve, and I'm sure you guys have seen this out in the field. Like, it's not an if, it's a when thing, depending on how hot and how hard the water is. So every single day, this is going to wipe the scale away to make sure that you start with kind of a freshly clean valve as if you did maintenance that night before. And that's pretty critical for big applications.
You mentioned data logging. Is this connected to like a BMS or like a management system for the building?
A lot of options with that. So it has native Modbus and BACnet, so you'll be able to connect to like a big hospital system as well. And then we also have a Caleffi cloud system that you can just send this directly to a cloud and then log in remotely. So you have to hook that up to an Ethernet cord and things like that. Okay. So it works standalone as well.
Yeah. What kind of tolerance? I mean, how tight will it maintain on temperature?
Oh, less than 2 degrees. Like more than you would even really be able to notice.
Sure.
Yeah. So
that's fascinating.
And that's one of the things that we talked about with the recirc system, that if you have only like 2 GPM coming back in a hotel in the middle of the night or something like that, that could give you trouble with the thermostatic because it's going to be below the minimum flow rate. This goes down to such a low minimum flow that it stays steady even in 3 a.m. when nobody's in the hotel or whatever.
That's got to be, so less than 2 degrees, and that's even on a research system, because we're talking about a system that's going to be built in mandatory already on a commercial application. That's pretty cool. So it's so compact. Is that because you're able to do it with the ball versus a larger cartridge?
Like the CV of this valve is bigger than that like 1.25 inch thermostatic that we looked at earlier. And like both technologies are appropriate for the application, but that's the reason we can get such a high flow rate through this. So one thing as installers to note, you may have to immediately increase back up to 1 inch or 1.25 inch to have the right velocity for your copper or for your PEX or whatever. And that's okay. It's going to look like this is undersized. This should look like it's one pipe size or smaller than the properly sized system. So,
but with the G thread here, we can go 1 inch immediately, just natively right there.
Right there. And we sell that version as well, that you get same body but bigger tail pieces.
But you do sell a much larger. I mean, is it up to 2 inch?
Up to 3 inch flange.
3 inch?
Yeah, and then we also have it on a rack station as well. So if you had a school that over spring break, you're trying to like take that down and put it back up, you can put that rack station on the wall and have press connections, the recirc connections as well, and just make that really fast. So you could build, both of you guys are like more than capable of building this in the field. You can also just hang that rack on the wall, tear out the old one. Buddy the plumber is, shout out to him, he's like the king of doing those retrofits, that he can cut those out, press in a new one and be ready to go. So
What do you think?
All in the box
Yep.
when you order it. So,
Yep.
I mean, I don't know how you.
It can be as complicated as you want with the building management system, or you can get in and set the time and date and the temperature, and you're off and running. So
Right on.
Yeah.
Cool, Max. I learned a lot already in this video. If you guys don't already, check out the Coffee with Caleffi series on your YouTube channel, correct?
Yep.
You can also find it on Caleffi's website.
yep, and register
for-
live or
yeah.
come to the stuff on YouTube that's archived.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. We've attended many of those over the years. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks to Caleffi for having us. Thank you, Max. Andy, where are they going to find us? On YouTube? More videos from AHR?
More videos from AHR on the
Stickers on
YouTube.
your back, maybe. So.
No. I got no stickers.
No.
Stay tuned, guys. Thanks for watching.